This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of Let's Talk About Music. My guest is Earle Thunders from the Swaggerlies. Great band. I've been watching their clips. Great live band. Got to check them out. Welcome, man. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
man. Thanks for inviting me. This is cool. This is fun.
Good. Glad to hear it. So like we were just talking about, you've always lived in Washington, moved around. You grew up in Kennewick?
Yeah, until I was about 10 years old, I lived in Kennewick.
Okay. Were you a huge music fan in Kennewick, or did it kind of start later?
No, that's when it started. My older sister, she's 5 years older than me. And it's always that older sibling says, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
In this case, it was my sister who had really great taste in music. And by great taste in music, I mean, she didn't really care whatever the other people thought of her music. She was like, she could listen to Meatloaf one day, and the next day it could be Van Halen. It was the 70s. There was no such, the genre thing wasn't such a big, the labels on bands were not as big a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there was disco growing up in our house. There was the Grease soundtrack, was huge in our house.
Huge. Yeah.
Van Halen, first Van Halen record, Highway to Hell, AC/DC. We listened to, Styx,
Oh yeah.
It was just all over the place. And she would always tell me, like, okay, check this out. You'll like this. You'll like this. Try this. Listen to this. So she kind of got me into liking all different kinds of music. And then you kind of find your own path of what really speaks to you more than other kinds of music.
Yeah.
But I just kind of grew up listening to like all kinds of stuff. My mom was a huge Beatles fan, so we listened to Beatles and Stones and Rod Stewart, Faces, and stuff like that. So there was always music happening.
Yeah.
No one was really musical except for me.
Yeah.
But that came much later. But I think it was just because I wanted to make music that I don't know if I had the talent. I wanted to do it kind of thing. So, yeah, that's kind of where it all came from. But yeah, I've always been a huge music fan.
Yeah, me too. I remember, like, my mom had the 8-track player, and she had the records that I always like gravitated to, and then actually got for my collection when I had CDs and after I'd left, were Carole King, Tapestry, Jim Croce.
Oh yeah.
Elton John. And then she used to buy those K-Tel. Remember those K-Tel records with the compilation? Oh, yeah. It's like K-Tel, Hit Explosion, and there's an Elton John song and a Styx song and a Neil Diamond song and that stupid Vicki Lawrence song, The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, was it was like on every single 8-track. They must have really paid a lot to get that on everything.
Yeah.
And there was like 4 or 5 songs on each of those that were really kind of cool. Philadelphia Freedom and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, both Elton John versions, were like those were always like constant rotation, just because the way he played and just like it had such a vibe to it. And
I remember my folks when I was really younger, they listened to a lot of Jim Croce.
Yeah.
A lot of Jim Croce. But that was also the time of comedians having albums.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of Steve Martin in our house, and Steve Martin and George Carlin albums going in our house too.
Yep.
So, which is a kind of, you don't see that too much anymore, obviously, but it was kind of a cool mix,
Yeah. I used to have to sneak the Cheech and Chongs in because my mom was like, they're druggies. I don't like that. I don't want you listening to drug. You're going to turn into a pothead. And I'm like, I still hasn't happened. I love Cheech and Chong. And George Carlin was far more subversive than anything about Cheech and Chong.
Oh yeah.
And
Cheech and Chong was a goof on getting stoned. George Carlin was fighting the power in his own way,
And Frank Zappa too. That's what made me love Frank Zappa.
I've tried to get into Frank Zappa. I guess he's one of those guys I come back around to. It's like every couple of years, like, okay, I'm going to sit down and listen, and maybe one of these days it's going to click with me. Yeah. I mean, I know he's just a great musician and great musical mind. Kind of like the Grateful Dead. It's like, okay, I know those guys are really they know what they're doing, and obviously they're doing something right, but they've
Yeah.
never really clicked for me either. So every couple of years I give these bands that I kind of gave up on, I give them another try, and sometimes it works, and sometimes I just still like, nah, I don't know. I don't know.
There's a lot of bands like that just never resonated with me. That people love Coldplay, and I just don't get it. And it nothing about it is musical to me. It sounds like ambient noise.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like you're listening to a conversation taking place in an adjacent room. You know, when people started going crazy about John Mayer,
Oh yeah.
I listened to it and I wasn't blown away, and everybody was raving about what a great guitar player he is. And I didn't.
They still do. They still rave about that.
But if you listen to him playing live, there's a version of him doing Panama by Van Halen, and he shreds. He absolutely has the chops, but he kind of panders to that college sorority girl kind of, he's trying to get that audience. And it's like, okay, I mean, it's like the boy bands, I'm not feeling it. I like melody. I like the anger and the energy of just a cool riff.
I agree.
Riff is everything. That's why I'm not a big shred guy. I'm not a big thrash guy. I mean, I don't like digga, 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 digga. I like the riff to Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen. It's like, it doesn't get any better than that, because it's so musical and just so cool.
That's King Edward, man, on guitar. So probably one of the greatest rhythm guitar players ever. But people hardly ever talk about his rhythm playing. They talk about his leads and how fast he goes, and his double tapping or whatever that's called, the hammer on. But great rhythm player, man.
Fantastic.
Like all those Van Halen riffs are like, there's hooks in those riffs.
Yeah, because he would play a lead, and then he'd be playing the rhythm stuff, and then he would articulate and like arpeggiate the chord and turn it into like a melody line, and then go back into the rhythm just seamlessly. And it was beautiful. Van Halen is my all-time favorite guitar player. Queen is my all-time favorite band. Something about him that's like, I love everything they've done. I don't love as much like the Hot Space and the Flash Gordon soundtrack had like 2 songs that were actually songs that weren't, that weren't synthesizer noise for the movie. But, like that was a band that really kind of said, fuck you to the record label. And it's like, we're going to play what we want to play. And it's like, they couldn't really be categorized because they had country-ish songs, and they had a hard rock song, and then they had, these fluky pop and disco stuff. And I mean, the first two albums could easily be categorized as like prog rock.
Yeah. Well, and Queen's one of those bands, and that's another thing, talking about like 70s music. I think that was like the really, in modern music, I think the 70s was probably like the best. My favorite time was the 70s. Yeah. When I go back and listen, because you had everything in that decade. Yeah. You had singer-songwriter, you had funk, you had disco, you had punk rock, you had hard rock, you had metal, you had everything happened. Everything happened in that 10-year period.
Yeah.
That's when like pop music came of age,
Yeah.
So much good stuff.
And the continuity and the love of music. There were, if you go through and you look at all the concerts that took place, you'll see like, I mean, it was like Pink Floyd with Neil Diamond on the bill, or it was something crazy like that, like Jimi Hendrix opening for the Monkees. It's like, what?
Because the promoter's like, well, they're selling records and they're selling records. Right. Together, we'll get a bunch of people at their show.
Yeah. you know, it would be like Pink Floyd, you know, Pink Floyd and Metallica together or something like
Yeah.
that. It would just like, that would never happen today. But back then it was like, I don't care. Put 3 bands on the bill. I don't care who they are.
You see that kind of stuff happening in like festivals in like other countries now. Like down in Brazil, they'll have a festival and it's going to have, you know, it'll have some huge pop star and then it'll have Foo Fighters and it'll have like Metallica. You know, it's kind of different with the festival thing, but
yeah,
not like your regular just run of the mill show. You know, which
yeah,
is kind of I wish they kind of had more of that in Seattle. Actually, we
yeah,
had like our band does. We're guitar based, you know, aggressive rock and roll music.
yeah,
I would totally be up to playing with like just about anybody, really.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we could do anything with like a thrash band or anything. I love that I love that music. I grew up listening to that.
Mhm.
But I don't know if we could. I don't know if we could hang with them. I don't think their fans would like us very much. I don't know. Maybe they would.
You know, there's a, you could also do kind of a cross genre thing, because I think like the rockabilly thrash, you see some bands that take like a rockabilly song and kind of like double time it and just make it a thrash song.
Yeah.
You know, or you take, you know, you see bands that take a, you know, a straight ahead pop song and turn it into like a reggae song. I mean, there's options for it, but yeah, you don't want to stray too far out of like what your, because you guys have a very specific, you guys have a very cool vibe. You've got like a hard rock, you guys have a little bit of punk element, but a driving, I want to say party band, but I don't want it to sound patronizing, because you guys have a lot of energy and a lot of fun, you know, and there's a sense of humor to it.
Well, I hope so. I hope there's a sense of humor, because this shit's funny, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 54 years old and I'm sitting here playing rock and roll music with my friends to strangers. I mean, that's got to be funny.
That's a dream, man. I just turned 56 like a week ago, and you know, it's same thing. It's like I love hanging out, going to concerts with my friends and going to see bands and playing music with friends. I'm not in a band anymore, and it's like the idea of starting a band and going out and playing on a Tuesday night at 11 o'clock and getting up and going to work at 6 a.m. again. It's like,
No,
that's a tough get anymore. But
yeah, that's when you're in your 20s. That's a lot easier to do.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, if you find the right group of people, and like with our band, it's like we've all been doing this for so long. I mean, I think we just got a new drummer. He's 34 years old.
He's a baby.
And I'm the second youngest in the band at 54. So I'll put it, that's our age range.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like once you start, it's like I'm sure you've talked to other people about this. Once you start down this path and you start doing that, it just becomes like something you just kind of, okay, this is what I do now. I go out and play music, and I sit here and write songs. You know, just sit in my little room here and I write music and show it to my band. I go, what do you guys think? And that's kind of my life. I don't know how it would be to be some other way. I don't know what else I'd do. I'd probably just drive my wife nuts if I didn't come up here a few times a week and mess around with my music.
I'm the same way. Like this is my studio down in the basement, and you know, I'm married with a 12-year-old daughter who thinks this is all ridiculous. She's into hip hop and Justin Bieber and Billie Eilish and you know, I've always prided myself on being the dad that it's like, no, sweetie, you listen to whatever you want to listen to, and she'll play some stuff for me, and she's like, okay, but this has bad words in it, and I'm like, I don't care. You know what the bad words are. You know not to say them around grandpa and grandma. Anything else is fine. You know?
Yeah.
And so she'll play me some rap song, and I'm just like, okay, you know, and I'll give it an honest opinion. And but I play her something, you know, I play her Howlin' Wolf, or I play her, you know, Jimi Hendrix, and she loves Queen. And, you know, I've played her AC/DC, and she loves Dirty Deeds. And she, you know, so there's a cool factor there too. When you turn her on to something, she's like, oh, I like that.
Well, yeah, and kids are really receptive to that. It's funny, we were watching some like reaction videos on YouTube,
Yeah.
like these young these young black dudes watching Johnny Cash's version of Hurt.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh my God, this is the saddest. And they don't know anything about Johnny Cash. They're like, we don't know who Johnny Cash is.
Yeah.
Then you see their reaction to Rage Against the Machine, or their reaction. We just got stuck into this YouTube channel. These guys reacting to music they'd never heard before.
Yeah, I've seen
and
those.
It's a huge thing on YouTube. I'm sure everyone knows that. But
yeah,
to us, it was just like, oh my God, this is so crazy. They've never heard, Thunderstruck by AC/DC. And they're like, wow, Angus Young, man, he's the GOAT. Yeah, he is.
Right?
He is.
I love those videos. There was one where it was a vocal instructor hearing Freddie Mercury sing, I think it was like The Love of My Life from Spain, or like from Brazil, from a live show. And they were just like, oh my God, this guy is, and yeah.
There'll never be another like Freddie Mercury. That's the greatest front man in the history of rock and roll, as far as I'm concerned. There was nobody like him.
Yeah.
Just watch their performance at Live Aid in 1985. If you watch just that 33 minutes, okay, it's like, okay, I can get it. If you don't know anything about Queen, you never heard of them. At that point, they were considered like has-beens.
Right. Yeah.
Live Aid thing. And they just, they blew the place away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I fell in love with Queen on, I think it was a third album. It was Sheer Heart Attack, Killer Queen, like blew me away. And then Night at the Opera was next, and that was absolutely amazing. But going back to their library, Queen too, they had a white side and a black side. It was like the good side and the evil side. And the evil side starts with Ogre Battle. And then it goes into this song called Fairy Feller's Masterstroke, which is like this. It was this really odd time signature, poppy, all Freddie, lots of like spinette, but all of the lyrics are written it's a painting called The Fairy Feller's Masterstroke by this like Dutch artist or somebody. And all of the things that are happening in the painting are what he's writing about. So he basically is looking at this painting and wrote a story based on what's happening in the painting. It's absolutely brilliant.
That's a great idea.
And from that whole black side, from Fairy Feller's Masterstroke, it segues into Nevermore and then into March of the Black Queen. And it's like 4 songs where they all just seamlessly flow into each other. And they weren't all written by Freddie. One was written by like John Deacon wrote one and Brian May wrote one, but it all flows together beautifully like one long operatic piece. And it's absolutely mind-blowing to me.
I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Yeah. Queen too. And like, but Fairy Feller's Masterstroke, and then look up the painting itself. It's absolutely phenomenal.
I've been going back and listening to stuff I missed the first time, or stuff like I was too young to know about when growing up, like some of the Kink stuff in the 70s,
Yeah.
When they weren't, selling tons of albums, it was just really cool rock and roll.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I hardly have time to listen to new stuff because I'm always going back and trying to, I never heard this one before, I mean, recently, a few years ago, Graham Parker, remember Graham Parker?
Yeah.
The Rumor?
I love Graham Parker and The Rumor.
Oh, such a great band.
Yeah. Yeah. 3 Chords Deep and what was it? And The Up Escalator, he does a version of I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. That is, I mean, he is a funky white man with bad hair. He is amazing. He and Nick Lowe and Elvis Costello. I absolutely love them. Nick Lowe, I got to see at a place I got to see him at the Bothell Event Center.
Wow.
Like 15 years ago. He just played, and the place wasn't even sold out, and it was amazing.
Wow. Wasn't even sold out.
Yeah. It was like, and he just came out and played a full set, mostly acoustic stuff. And people forget he wrote What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding for Elvis Costello. And, and his version, I like Nick Lowe's version better. He slows it down and makes it more intimate. And it's not kind of that driving beat that Elvis Costello has. And his cadence is cool, but it's not like Nick Lowe has that swagger, you know, where everything kind of has a more of a groove to it, more of a pronounced groove. Have you seen the show Live from Daryl's House with Daryl Hall?
Oh yeah, it's on. It's not on anymore, is it?
I don't know if they're still making episodes, but I love that show. The Butch Walker episode, the Todd Rundgren episode. He had Smokey Robinson on. That was really cool. And ZZ Top.
Yeah, I remember watching some of those.
Yeah,
I remember he had Billy Gibbons on. I remember that. I saw that one.
Yep. He had Nick Lowe on, and they did like 4 songs. They did Cruel to Be Kind, which is, of course, they did I Live on a Battlefield, which is like one of my favorite songs of his. I'm a huge Nick Lowe fan. Absolutely love the guy. And so who are you, like, at what point did you start playing guitar? Like, was it still in Kennewick, or was it once you moved over here?
No, I kind of went, I did everything backward. I did everything the wrong way, how you're supposed to do things. I started, like, I had a lot of songs in my head. I had like words, I had a lot of lyrics.
Okay.
From being just from a kid all the way up into like high school, and you write your stupid ass poems when you're a kid and you're trying to write love poems about girls or whatever, try to get your feelings out on paper. And then I'm just like, okay, well, maybe I should learn how to play something so I could put these words to music. Mm-hmm. So I started probably like when I was like 15, 16, like learning like the basics. I really didn't really get into it seriously until I was about 21. And then I started playing with other people. And it was such a mystery to me. I mean, for years, I didn't know how do you even write a song? Where do you start? Okay, so you know how to play guitar, you know how to sing. So you put those together. I mean, there was such a mystery. Some of it's still a mystery to me. I've written a shit ton of songs, but some of it's like, wow, I don't understand how people came up with that. They put the words and the music together, and they start and they stop at the same time. You're playing in a band, and everyone kind of knows what they're doing. And there's still a mystery to it, which is kind of cool because I still like it because it's still a little mysterious to me.
Yeah.
But I didn't start playing guitar. I started writing songs, and I learned the guitar to write songs. That's the reason I learned guitar, was to write songs.
Okay.
And then I just fell in love with guitar, and I have a bunch of guitars now.
Yeah.
And I play them all the time. So
I was admiring. It looks like you got a Les Paul Jr. and a Firebird, and is that a looks like you got a Telly and those are nice.
And I have a Hagstrom in the back, my semi-hollow Hagstrom Viking.
Oh, beautiful.
And then I got a Gretsch BST 5000, 1979 Gretsch solid body. It's a nice one. I love that one. That's one of my main guitars at Gretsch.
I
got a Godin here from Canada. And I have an old Japanese Yamaha that's in the shop right now. Japanese Les Paul Lord Player.
Okay.
Like from 1983, one of those old Japanese Les Pauls.
Yeah. Yeah, I love them. I've been actually making my own for a while now. So it's like, that's where most of these have come from. And I was a cheapskate, so I couldn't afford to buy nice guitars. So I would buy cheap guitars and customize them, replace the pickups and put a coil tap on it and change this around and do this and rewire it. And
I do that a lot too.
Yeah.
I do that a lot too, but I don't have the skill set, so I bring them to a friend to do them. There's only a couple guitars here. Almost all of them have been modded in some way, except for my Firebird. I just got that. It's like 2021 Epiphone Firebird, and I just love it. I'm just not going to do anything to it.
Yeah.
And my Godin here from Canada, my Canadian guitar.
Oh, that's beautiful.
This is nice. It's
P90s?
like a Les Paul Junior short scale.
Oh, nice. P90s and everything. Yeah. Is it? What is
Yeah.
that? Oh, it's. Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, I was
Single
going to say
cut.
it looked like a single volume, but it's got. I see the tone is just farther down.
Yep. And these are like Canadian Gibsons. Everything's made in Canada.
Yep.
Just really high quality guitars. I've got this up in Canada on sale.
Oh,
like
nice.
$250 American. So
250?
Yeah, with the exchange rate at the time.
Yeah.
And the music store was going out of business, so they're having this huge sale. I just happened to be there. But it probably cost $600 new, but I got it with a nice case, $250 brand new.
That's awesome.
I love it. I was just playing it before we started the Zoom. I was working on some songs and I was playing that guitar.
Yeah, I was playing this one earlier. So
yeah, I think I saw that on another. That's in your grandpa's shed or something.
Yeah. It was my grandfather's shed. Windstorm blew it into the ditch, and this is like one of the boards that made it. And it's super light. It's got a Billy Joel record for a pick guard.
Nice. You got a DiMarzio in there, you said?
Yeah, DiMarzio Super Distortion, and it's got a coil tap.
Nice.
So yeah,
cool.
I love that guitar. It's got the telly spank to it, and then the like in full humbucker mode, it's just a beast. It's got like that Les Paul growl to it when I want it, and just roll the volume back a little bit. It gives you like that really chimey, that really chimey clean sound. It's probably my go-to guitar because it's super light as well.
Well, it's got a sentimental value too. So that's
it really does.
Yeah, this telly. I just got this telly, and I just put one of those little 59 stacked humbuckers in it.
Yeah.
And it's cool. And I got a little mini humbucker in the neck position.
Nice.
So it sounds good.
Yeah,
I played it the other night.
Yeah, I loved. Yeah, I don't know what it was about guitars, but I got bit in my early 20s, and it was, I just needed to have a guitar. I just always needed to have a guitar in my hands, and I haven't stopped playing them since.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Feeling. Yeah, I just wish I was better. I mean, I'm pretty much a meat and potatoes like rock guy. I mean, I rarely play a guitar solo. I mean, unless our lead guitar player is like, hey, let's try doing like a Thin Lizzy thing. Like, okay. But usually I'm just like holding down some, power chords is my big thing. So
that's necessary. That's like, you're the anchor, and there's such value there. And it's like, don't underlook or undervalue that position, because like there's too many bands that had like they relied too much on virtuosity and didn't have any song sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I know exactly what you mean.
Like a bad example would be like Vinnie Vincent. If you ever saw him play or listen to that,
I saw him in concert.
Huh?
I saw him in concert with Iron Maiden, like back in 1987 or something.
Yeah, right. I couldn't name a song, and I couldn't tell when one song started and when the next song's, because everything was.
Yeah.
The last episode we had was with Anders Johansson, who was the drummer with Yngwie Malmsteen's band. And there's a lot of people bash on Yngwie, and I loved his records. I loved Yngwie records when I was first starting to play, just because it was mind-blowing. It was like something I had never heard before.
Yep. I remember having the cassette of what I think it was Rising Force.
Rising Force, yeah.
I had that on cassette.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did someone play that fast?
Right? Yeah. It was mind-blowing, especially as a guitar player. And but 3 or 4 songs in, everything sounded,
Yeah.
it took away it kind of took away the spark of it. It kind of numbed you to how fast it was. But then you'd had somebody like Steve Lukather, who would play something slow, interject a really fast run, and then go back to something slow. And you're like, wait a minute, what happened there?
Yeah.
And tastefully inject.
He's one of the guys that plays for the song, It's
Yeah.
and to me, like getting back to like songs, like to me, everything's about the song.
Yeah.
Everything lives and dies by the song. If the song sounds better without me playing guitar, then okay, I don't play guitar. Sounds better without, take this out, move this around, whatever makes a song better, let's do that. And that's always how I've thought. But I don't know if everyone thinks that way, but I wish more people would.
I wish more people would. And I noticed, I really dug that you guys played "Need to Know" by Tom Petty, and Mike Campbell is probably the best example of playing for the song. Great guitar player.
Yep.
Hardly ever solos. He plays for the song, and he's like I almost think of him as like a Ferrari that never gets out of second gear. He's like, he is such an underrated player.
Well, everything's interesting. Everything's interesting because Tom Petty stuff is very simplistic. It's pop songs. The great Tom Petty, who I love, Tom Petty.
Revere,
but what Mike Campbell does is he adds like that little thing to it, that secret sauce to it. And it's like Elliot Easton from the Cars. You listen to the Cars, and you're like, okay, it's like fun, kind of new wavy kind of stuff. And you sit down and if you isolate those guitar tracks, you're like, wow, is that dude doing chicken picking in there? What's going on? It's like one of the great underrated guitar players, Elliot Easton. Man,
I love Elliot Easton. Yeah, he is a fantastic player. Just that intro riff to "My Best Friend's Girl." When I got that record, that was I think it's song 2 on the first Cars album, and I was just like, this is the coolest song. I didn't even listen to the rest of the side. I just played that song like 4 times in a row before I even let it go past that song. It had such a cool riff to it,
Yeah.
Just heavy palm mute but he is. There was I saw an interview with Dweezil Zappa, and he had Elliot Easton. He was talking about what an underrated rhythm player Elliot Easton was, and just like how complex of a player he was. And it was so it was just like so understated and so difficult. It sounded simple, but it really wasn't. There was like such a level of technical virtuosity to him.
It's like Andy Summers from the Police too. It's like,
absolutely,
they're a 3-piece little reggae band, and then you listen to Every Breath You Take. It's like, whoa, how is he doing that?
Yeah,
there's so much going on under there.
Yeah, I every once in a while, like I've got a Twitter account as well, and once in a while, every once in a while, something will happen that kind of like throws me for a loop. Vernon Reid from Living Colour followed me, and I was just
that's cool,
right? And I was just like, I would love to have him on, because like that first Living Colour album, Vivid, I went back, I've been listening to it again, and like their first 3 or 4 albums, but that first album, his guitar tone, if nothing else, the amount of care that went into that tone selection, every single song has a very distinct, very different tone to it. Cult of Personality has that heavy distortion, buzzy, almost out of control, feedbacky, where you could tell he was like fighting to keep it from feeding back. And then when he gets into the solo, he kind of lets it off the leash a little bit. And then, Open Letter to a Landlord has this beautiful, chimey, chorusy, clean sound, beautifully palm mute. I mean, just like every song has a distinctly different sound to it, and the way he approaches it, he throws in little jazz bits every once in a while, and you're like, wait a minute, this is almost a heavy metal song, and he's going into jazz.
Yeah, what a player, man, Vernon Reid. I need to go back and listen to some Living Color.
Yeah, I would recommend, like, standout songs for me are "Open Letter to a Landlord" off of Vivid. "The Solace of You" is absolutely gorgeous. It's like this finger plucked, very chimey, heavily chorused, beautifully clean, just amazing sound. Vernon Reid, he is like one of these sonic sculptor, I guess you could call him.
Yeah, you don't hear him mentioned that much anymore when people talk about these greats. But he's underrated, yeah, for sure.
I agree. He's just like his depth of knowledge. He plays funky. He can articulate that kind of Hendrixy rhythm, that kind of backslappy rhythm that Hendrix was really good at. And he just, like, his versatility is absolutely phenomenal as a guitar player.
He played on a Ramones song too.
Yeah, was it the it was like
it's called Cabbies on Crack.
Okay.
And I think it was like one of the last two albums.
That's
Adios Amigo, maybe. But there's a song on there. It's like, you could tell it when you hear it. It doesn't sound like Ramones when there's a solo in it, first of all.
Yeah.
And then it sounds. It's like, oh shit, okay, that's Vernon Reid.
Yeah.
But he plays on Cabbies on Crack by the Ramones.
Cabbies on Crack. I love that.
I'm remembering right. I think that's what it's called, Cabbies on Crack.
That's very cool. I'm gonna look it up because
Vernon Reid. I might be misremembering, man. I'm getting old, but
that's okay. I'm gonna look it up on the Ramones. So
I don't know how I've stored that little bit of knowledge all these years. But
I have this weirdly, I don't know, it's like photographic memory for useless music trivia.
I kind of same thing with me.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so much fun. That and Star Wars trivia, I think, probably.
Okay.
Something I could never make a living at, and it just takes up so much of my brain space.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. So you guys are playing at Slim's coming up in, like, what, 2 weeks?
St. Patty's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. Very cool. Is it a Friday or Saturday night show?
It's a Friday.
Okay. I plan to be there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we're gonna do was supposed to be a Pogues tribute night.
Nice.
So we started learning all these Pogues songs. I never really delved into the Pogues. Yeah. But that's what I was playing right before we joined this. I'm sitting, because I've been trying to few times a week. I come up and try and do our Pogues set. We had doing like 3, 4, about 5 covers. And then it just recently turned into, okay, let's do, like, you do your whole set and just throw some Pogues into your set. So we're kind of doing that. So it'll be fun. Cool. But yeah, it's totally out of our wheelhouse. We're all having to, like, okay, we have this new drummer who's only played like one show with us. Like, okay, we're just doing Pogues now. It's pretty funny.
Some of those are the funnest shows too, though.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a blast. We'll have fun.
Yeah,
it's really taken us out of our wheelhouse because, yeah.
I love Slims. Slims is like, I think you and I both have a love of dive bars.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to call Slims a dive bar because it's well maintained, but there is an aura to it. When I went, the first time I went there was with someone who'd gone, who was a regular, and he was like, whatever you do, don't piss off the waitress. And I'm just like, why would I piss off the waitress? And she just came by and she's just like, what do you want? And I was like, oh, well, I just let whatever you got on tap is great. And here's this. And, I was a waiter. I understand. I'm not asking for special anything. And if you're not a dick, they're not going to, they have no problem with you,
No.
But you look two tables over and somebody's like, I want this and I want that. And I don't like that and whatever. And they're just like no tolerance and no patience for that kind of crap. It's
Yeah, I
like,
don't blame them.
they're busy. They've got 12 tables,
Yeah.
they've got 12 tables and they're not going to take special orders. Just say it quick. Don't hit on them. Don't be a dick. And you're golden. And,
Yeah.
I
don't think I've ever been to Slim's when I was actually watching another band. I think I've only been there over the years, probably last, I don't know how long they've been around. I've been there since right after they opened, and my old band. I don't think I've ever been there just to see a show. I think every time I've been there, I've been on the bill.
Okay.
Which is really cool. So maybe I don't have the same experience with the waitresses or the wait staff, because we're always like, hey, we're on the same team kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, Celeste and Mikey are like such great people. And I was chatting with Dan from Daryl's yesterday too.
I love Daryl's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that place.
To me, like Daryl's and Slim's is like, okay, this is the north end, this is the south end. These are the two cool bars. One's north, one's south. And they have the same kind of ethos, that's kind of like treat the bands well. It's a band's place.
Yeah. Yeah.
The owners are fans of music. Well, Mikey is, he's a musician, the owner of Slim's, and Dan used to play out all the time. So it's like, they're the two of the best places in Seattle, north and south. I
agree. In fact, I live, I'm like 3 miles south of Daryl's. And
really?
Yeah, it's like right in my neighborhood. I live.
Nice.
Yeah.
We're playing there in July.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be there for that too.
Yeah, we're all over this year's our busy. We've been a band for 5 years, and this is our busiest year we've ever had. We're booked until November. We're booked until November right now.
I'm thrilled to hear that. I mean, it was tough when COVID shut everything down. It was like, I don't know what like we lost a lot of venues that just didn't come back, that just didn't recover. And it's heartbreaking because there was some good clubs back in the late 80s and the 90s when the rock clubs started getting replaced by canned music and DJs. That was like there was the 99 Club, which became Charlie Mack's, which became a sports bar, and there was Meeker's Landing down in Kent, and there was the Saratoga Trunk in Bellevue, and it became I want to say it became Chuck E. Cheese's for a while, and then it became a strip joint. There was the Riviera up in Linwood.
Oh yeah, the Riviera. Oh yeah, I have a friend who played there back in the heyday, back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you get 400 people there on a Tuesday night.
Right. Yeah.
Those are the days.
Yeah, those were great clubs to play. And there was the Under the Rail, and I saw Zebra and I saw Extreme there. I was just telling Eve Clark that the other day, because the new Extreme song just dropped and she was raving about it, and everybody was just, everybody's just like, all right, new Extreme. And
that guitar solo was killer in that song, man.
Yeah, she was showing her tattoo and everything, and she was on one of the episodes, her and Travis, and I'm gonna try and get Jim on as well. I ran into Eve at Daryl's. Her Trip the Wire played with Finger Guns. I went to see Steve. I've been friends with Steve for, I want to say 25 years now.
Great guy.
Love Steve. He is one of the funniest human beings on the planet.
We just played with him at Slim's last weekend.
Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I was down in Portland, and it was midwinter break for my daughter, and we wanted to like take her someplace so she wasn't just sitting at home the whole week.
Oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, Portland's fun.
So we, of course, the weekend we go is when there's a blizzard down in Portland, and there's 11 inches of snow. And
that's right. I heard about that.
Yeah, it was still a good time. We had a great time.
Yeah, I like Portland. We're playing there this month.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all over the place, man. We're playing Montana this year.
I
We're playing Idaho. It's like we're getting out of. We like getting out of town. We like going to these little road. I mean, we're not really a touring band, but we like to take like extended weekends away. You know?
yeah.
We did that back in 2020, right before COVID hit. We did Portland, Reno, San Francisco, and Eugene. And
That's
we got
awesome.
back. We got back, and then COVID hit, and we were done for a year.
Yeah. I thought I saw Ellensburg. Did you guys have an Ellensburg show? Or maybe that was Finger Guns. They played Spokane not too long ago as well.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, we're playing Spokane in October. When we're doing a little Montana thing, we're doing Spokane and then a place in Idaho, and then we're doing Montana. Coming up in June, we're doing Wenatchee and we're doing Moses Lake. I've never played Moses Lake. That'll be interesting.
Okay.
We'll see.
Are you guys, it's Wally's in Wenatchee, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of great dive bars, man. You ever been to Wally's?
I grew up in Wenatchee, but Wally's wasn't around when I was there. But I still have.
Man, it's so cool.
I still have old classmates that tell me about the place.
Dude, it's classic. It's classic Eastern Washington. You think you just step back into the 70s. Yeah. You expect to see your dad sitting there at the bar. It's crazy.
If I went back to Wenatchee, there's a good chance I would.
So. Yeah, if you get a chance to go to Wally's, go to Wally's.
Okay.
When you get back, do you ever go back to Wenatchee?
I have not been. I went back for my 30th high school reunion, and I'd only been back a handful of times since I left. When I was growing up there, I hated every second of every day. So as soon as I graduated, I literally threw everything I owned into a station wagon and moved over here. I had the idea, I was going to come over here and play music, and yeah. So I've been here ever since. I love it.
If you go back, Wally's is worth it.
Okay.
They have good shows. They're really good shows. You're playing on the floor, and there's just people in your face while you're playing. You're like this far away, like almost touching your guitar. Cool. It's one of those punk rock bars.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a very cool vibe.
Nice. When I was growing up there, there was only two places that had actually live music. There was a country bar called Murphy's, and there was a biker bar called the Franklin House. And that was just like there was like 5 local bands. So if you're gonna play, you'd get like a weekend every 2 months, and that was about it. So
I think Wally's is the only place over there now, at least for original music. I don't know about cover. I've been in one cover band in my life. I've been doing this like close to 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in one cover band, and that was just like 5 years ago. I wanted to do like old classic, like 70s country.
That's like cool.
Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, that kind of stuff. And with our old guitar player in this band, Ronchos, and we got some friends, a really good drummer friend of mine. And it's like, I've always done my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it'd be kind of fun to actually play to like a big crowd where everyone knows the words. I've never had that happen. So and I like old school, that kind of old country. It's like it's like honky tonk country,
Yeah. I heard you mention Steve Earle on one of the videos from the Slims show. And I love Steve Earle.
Man, one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites, songwriters. I love everything about that dude. Great. And we did a Steve Earle song too. Actually, we did like Guitar Town. I think we did Guitar Town. But it was fun. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do this cover band thing, something totally different, because I'm usually doing the hard rock, punk rock guitar stuff, where I'm shouting at people. And this is gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna be like a country singer. And it was a blast. We had a girl singer who sang with us, and it was cool. But
that is cool.
It's more fun doing your own thing.
It is. It's also fun to like change it up. You get it kind of gives you a fresh perspective. And it probably.
Well, I just sit down and learn all these country songs on guitar, and I'm sitting there going, man, that Buck Owens is pretty good.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and this I forgot the guy, Merle Haggard's guitar player. Man, just brilliant. It's like, man, these guys could play. You try and play along with some of that stuff. It's like, it's so simple. It's country music. Oh, anyone could do it.
Oh
It's
no,
like,
they
it's
don't
like,
hide behind
man,
distortion. They play clean.
yeah,
They have to
you're
have
playing,
perfect technique.
yeah, you're playing a Telecaster through a clean amp. It's like, there's nowhere to hide. You're
No.
just, and you're trying to sing and play at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's no metronome. So I mean, Buck Owens, his timing would be all over the place sometimes. It's like, okay, hold on. What are they doing there? It's, oh yeah, they're human beings playing it. That's why.
Yeah.
It's not perfect timing. It's humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about playing guitar just by trying to play Buck Owens and Merle Haggard. It's just like crazy.
Yeah, those guys are both like the term outlaw country was kind of overused, but they weren't the twangy like
Nashville with all the backup
yodeling
singers.
vocal. Yeah, they had. I mean, Glenn Campbell. Jesus, the guy was
That's a guitar
in
player.
the Wrecking Crew. He was a studio musician who was like.
Oh, he played on all the Beach Boys, all the Beach
Right.
Boys. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
All
you
those
hear him play, and
songs in the 60s.
oh, that guy
Played on the
that guy
Birds.
had-
The Wrecking Crew did the Birds songs,
Yeah, yeah.
Glenn Campbell, that's a guitar player. See, but nobody knows it except for guitar geeks like us.
Right.
When I was doing the country thing, I'd say it's like, oh, I'm doing country music. I'm doing some Buck Owens, and all my guitar player friends like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
But anyone else, the regular person on the street, be going, oh, cool, Buck Owens, hee haw. Like, no, it's not just hee haw.
But like we used to watch. I remember watching Hee Haw, every Sunday night, and with my grandparents, and I think back on it, and I remember going back and rewatching a couple of those episodes from a kid's standpoint. It was a comedy. It was a comedy skit show.
Yeah.
But if you listen to the music that they're actually playing, those guys were killers.
Oh yeah, Buck Owens Band was the house band for like the first 3-4 seasons, and they were playing live. It wasn't taped.
Roy Clark too. Like
that guy. That's a guitar player.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's usually got a banjo, he usually had the banjo on him. And I was like, why is he playing a banjo, man? Give him a guitar. Let him play guitar. But my appreciation for what he does with a banjo is also like, or he pulls out a mandolin and you're thinking, oh, come on, do something cool. And then now from a more educated musical palette, I listen to what he's doing and I'm just like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And he could shred on the guitar, man.
Yeah.
He could just shred. Play so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. He was blindingly fast and playing through, playing through a Fender Twin and just like perfectly clean technique.
Yeah. Nowhere to hide.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anybody that tries to slag on a country player as not being a good musician,
they've never tried to play country.
Yeah. Or same with bluegrass players.
Oh yeah.
Ricky.
I'm not a fan of the new country stuff. I mean, just because to me it's like pop music. I'm not a big fan of pop music in general. But like you start the old stuff when they were like, and maybe I sound like an old man yelling at clouds, but like it seemed like back in the 70s, man, you had those great players, and great songs, Waylon Jennings, my favorite country singer of all time is Waylon Jennings. That voice.
Yeah.
And he was a badass. He was Buddy Holly's bass player.
Yeah, it's back then with the singers, like the guitarist singer, like Peter Frampton. Peter Frampton was a great guitar player, still is. He doesn't get enough credit for his guitar playing. He gets credit for being an adorable frontman who sings and made the girls swoon,
And you listen to Humble Pie, man. Damn.
Humble Pie, right, absolutely. And even like Steve Miller, Steve Miller had great songs. Steve Miller is a maniac on guitar, listen to like of course, John Fogerty and him getting all of his
songwriting.
credits back.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal, amazing, and I'm so happy for him. There was an interview in like Guitar Aficionado or one of the guitar magazines, and he basically said, yeah, I've been really focusing on my guitar playing lately and going back and learning all the Van Halen licks, and I'm like, wait a minute, John Fogerty is playing shred guitar. He had like a Wolfgang with the Floyd, and he's playing, and I'm like, whoa, because
crazy.
Because Creedence wasn't like, I mean, you listen to Creedence and it's good, it's great songs. You don't think of it as virtuoso guitar hero.
No, but I love that guitar. I love his guitar playing with those open notes. Oh man.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that doesn't get enough credit for guitar playing. I just think he's brilliant.
Anybody that can make a Rickenbacker sound good is a great guitar player.
Yeah.
It's I can't remember who said they look great live, they sound like shit in the studio. They're just like, they're too like the hollow body, the hollowness of them, it just feeds back. It sounds too thin, it sounds too boxy. You just couldn't get them to record well, but they sure look cool on stage, you know?
Yeah. I've never played a Rickenbacker. I've played it like a guitar stores, but I've never played one live.
Yeah.
Be interesting to try it.
Yeah. I like I said, I think they're cool because I love George Harrison, but
oh yeah,
you know, like, yeah, but he mostly played Gretches. It was John Lennon that had the Ricks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're a cool looking guitar.
Yes. Like classy looking.
Yeah, there's something about them that they look elegant.
You couldn't imagine someone like shredding on a Rickenbacker.
Right. You know.
That's a video I'd like to see, of somebody shredding on a Rickenbacker.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, you know, but you know, it's funny because you see like Eric Johnson, who is another monster guitar player. You know, he plays his Strats a lot, but he loves playing this 335, and he tears it up on a 335, which looks odd because you always associate it with, like, you know, BB King and his 355 Lucille's, but the 335s, you know, early Clapton and you know, kind of those 60s bands, you know, or the blues guys that play, you know,
Freddie King.
Right. You don't really picture like the shreddy guys playing the semi hollows, and he just is lightning fingered on that thing, and it's amazing to watch it. It looks out of place.
I love the sound of semi hollow guitars, hollow bodies too. But I mean, I have my Hagstrom Viking that I love that guitar. I've had that guitar longer than any guitar in here, actually. And that's why I played my old band. That thing gets played all over the place.
Yeah.
Played the Gorge. It's played Sunset Strip down in California.
Nice. Oh, I love the Gorge.
Yeah. Great shows there.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen a few shows at the Gorge. I saw Queensryche there. I saw Chicago there.
Nice.
One of the Chicago, they had this silk screen behind them. They were showing like colored lights up on like a light show, and a big gust of wind caught it and just ripped it and pulled it off the cliff. It was hilarious. It was like this, like, you know, it just, you know how windy up there it gets.
Oh yeah.
And it grabbed this silk screen and just pulled it into like off the cliff, and like half the horn section just turned and looked and just went. It was,
speaking of underrated guitar, Terry Kath.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah, that 25 or 6-4 is like my my favorite Chicago tune of all time.
Yeah.
That it just had like I have no idea what the hell 25 or 6 to 4 even means, but damn, that is such a cool song.
And then they went so commercial in the 80s, man. They had all these ballady love songs. Like I didn't remember hearing any guitar in the 80s.
That was the producer, David Foster.
Oh yeah, David. I just saw a documentary about him.
Yeah, he kind of killed the rock vibe of Chicago. He made Peter Cetera the front man, and
Yes.
focused on like it was kind of like it was the death knell for the band, kind of like when Kenny Loggins started doing just like soundtracks and Bryan Adams followed suit. Like, remember when Bryan Adams used to rock before he was doing like ballads on soundtracks?
Yes, Robin Hood soundtrack or whatever else.
Yeah. And that's sad because like the kids want to rock, and that Reckless album was really, really good.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, that's the one with Summer of '69 and
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean there was a lot of good songs on that album. It was like
at that point in my life, I was totally a metalhead at that point.
Yeah.
I went full on metal, then I went full on punk, and then I went, okay, I just like everything now.
Yeah. You go through like what was the first band that you like were totally infatuated with?
Probably Van Halen.
Okay.
I remember it's another thing with my older sister. It came out in like 78, I think, and I was 9, 8 or 9, 9 years old probably. And she played that all the time. I had that thing memorized. I knew all the words to that song when I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
We played it so much. That's all she played was not all she played. And there was also Highway to Hell by AC/DC.
Nice.
So those two albums, like that's what I had a memory. I could lip sync those songs. I couldn't sing them because I was a terrible singer. But I knew all the words to those songs. Every little nuance of Van Halen 1 and Highway to Hell. And then when Back in Black came out, I was just like, I'm a huge AC/DC fan.
Yeah.
But those are the two bands that I remember really going like, man. And then in like 1982 or 83, she's like, you got to listen to this band called Def Leppard. I'm like, what? What's a Def Leppard? And it was a Pyromania.
Yeah.
It might have been High and Dry. I think it was Pyromania. And I heard that opening riff to Photograph.
Yep.
I was like, whoa. It was like a perfect blending of like pop and hard rock.
Yeah.
And still to this day, that album is still great. I'm not
catchy
a big fan
songs, heavy, crunchy guitars.
Yeah, and it was, but then I think the Hysteria was the next one. That was a little too David Foster for me, but Pyromania, High and Dry, those were great albums.
Yeah.
So it was like it was kind of the hard rock stuff that I really got into.
Yeah.
American hard rock.
Yeah.
That's what really got me into.
I was a Kiss fan. I was a Styx fan. At the time, I really dug, and I still do. I really dig bands with multiple lead singers. So it adds so many different flavors to their set. And just like so much versatility. Like I like a band that can play convincingly of multiple different styles. I love Queen, and Styx was that way. They had James Young, the guitar player, who really had this rock side to him, like Miss America, and he played like all these, like all of the hard stuff. And then
he was always like he looked threatening.
Yeah, he looked.
Then he had Tommy Shaw, who looked like
a baby. He's still like the guy's almost 70 years old, and he still looks like a baby.
I know. And then Dennis DeYoung had kind of the Broadway thing going on. He had kind of like the show tunes vibe.
He did. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm thinking of the Mr. Roboto era.
He actually did a band. I've got a CD of Dennis DeYoung, and it's called it's like 12 off Broadway, and he does basically Broadway show tunes. And somebody gave it to me, and I was like, I love Dynasty Young, but this is a little much, you know?
Yeah, I can't go into the show tunes thing too much.
Yeah. But I love Styx, you know, they were a great band. They got a little schmaltzy, I guess, you know, and
Yeah.
and it was a little tough to kind of ride through that. And
Well, it's good though, because that's how we got punk rock, because punk rock was so pissed off at
right.
Styx.
Yeah. And that's and that was it was like when all of the 80s bands became so enamored with the hairspray and the extended guitar solo, and that opened the door for grunge, which is like the next iteration of punk. It was kind of that we don't care. This is our songs. We're just going to be loud and fast and in your face. And, you know, and that's what we care about. And that was like the perfect breath of fresh air to kind of flush all that other stuff away.
Yeah. I was, man, growing up in the 80s and growing up listening to hard, I was not into that kind of rock in the 80s. I mean, a lot of my friends were, and I went to a school. My school was literally called Aces High, and it was named after an Iron Maiden song.
Wow.
My high school. Yeah, okay. It was an alternative school for bad kids, for metalheads.
Nice.
And there was people in our school that really liked that kind of music. By that point, I was really getting into like the Pistols and Ramones. It changed my life. I remember where I was the first time I heard them. But yeah, I was really getting into more of the heavier stuff, and like really getting into Motorhead. I really like Metallica, early Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, I could do without the hairspray. I got my music over here that sounds raw and ready and cool. But yeah, man, that was the 80s. It was, you know, it was hairspray.
Yeah.
Hairspray and guitar solos.
You know, what was funny to me is, that same vein in the early 80s, and I was listening to, you know, I was still listening to Van Halen and Kiss and some of the other stuff, and people were trying to turn me on to the harder stuff, and someone said, well, those metal singers can't sing, and then I kind of laughed and said, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Ronnie James Dio, tell me they can't sing.
Yeah, really.
You know? Like
I got a battery issue here. Just a second. I have two computers up here. One's my work computer, and this is my other computer. And one of them is about to die, and I can't plug it in.
Okay.
So we might have to call it here pretty quick.
Yeah, we can do that.
Sorry, man.
Oh, no, it's all good, man.
I thought I had this thing charged.
No, it's all good. Like, this has been a good time.
Yeah, time flew by. How long have we been? It's been an hour, right?
No idea. What time is it? It's 8. I don't know. Hour and some change.
Yeah, this is cool, man. I like what you're doing here.
Thank you. Mostly I wanted a venue for people to talk about the stuff that they love, that they might not get a chance to, you know, if you're playing a gig, you're not going to have a chance to talk about like the stuff that got you there, that got you on stage.
Totally.
And hopefully, like, I'll put this out and we're going to get a bunch of like local people that are going to check this out and go, hey, you know what? I want to see your band now. And
hopefully
I don't know how much I'm going to be able to direct there. I hope this gets more and more popular as more and more people come on. But I'm really enjoying the opportunity to help support local artists and to get as many of the bands that I love on here to just point people at them and go, hey, these guys are great. You got to check them out.
Oh, man. Well, I'm happy you invited me. I'll for sure let my friends know about it if you want me to help you get some more people. I know people like talk. People just like musicians like to talk about music. So you're not going to have trouble getting people on your show. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because everyone likes to geek out about music. If you do this for a living or for fun. So, it's going to be easy to get someone to geek out about music for an hour.
Yeah, I want to get one of the episodes I've got coming up is I'm going to get Steve Bergstrom and Dan Tyson and Jay Smith, and the three of them together. I probably will just mute. I'll probably just mute mine and let them go, because they'll be like the Three Stooges together. They're absolutely hilarious. Dan and I have known each other. Dan and I worked at Microsoft together like 25 years ago. And I've known Steve, my buddy Arthur, who is one of my older friends, oldest friends. He was the original bass player in Steve's other band, the Dapper Jones. So Steve and I became immediate, like this kindred spirit in having the same kind of foul sense of humor. So, Steve and I immediately bonded, and we were just like, oh my God, we can't. My wife was like, we have to keep you two separated because you guys are just like a time bomb waiting to go off.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love those guys. Finger Guns are great. Three of the nicest dudes on the local scene too.
Yeah.
They're playing my birthday party. In November.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, Steve was in the Finger.
You're invited.
Thank you. I would happily be there.
November 18th, Tony V's up in Everett.
That's a fun place too. Yeah, that's another one of those. That's another one of those bars that that really deserves local venue support.
Yeah, you know what I'm not going to tell you how to do your show, but what you should think of doing is maybe get some of these venue owners on your show.
I would absolutely love that,
because those guys probably have better stories than anybody about music, local music. They probably know way more than anyone who plays it.
Yeah. The next time I'm up at Daryl's, I'll definitely. Is it Dan?
Dan, yeah.
And and I'll count on you for an introduction to the owners at Slim's.
Yeah, Celeste is kind of shy, but I'll send you. She's one of the sweetest people ever, but she's kind of shy. So
okay,
might be hard to get her on it.
I was for sure thinking I'd love to have the waitresses on, because
they're probably not too shy to go on your show.
No, probably not. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me. It's been a blast, man. I'll do it again anytime you want.
Great. Yeah. I'm going to try and get my initial poll for Tony was going to have him and Eve on together. And I thought you guys would be a good matchup. My initial pairing for you was a guy named Mike Branch, but he didn't have enough time. Like, he didn't see the request, and evenings are usually difficult for him because he rehearses quite a bit. He's gigging a lot. And so I'm still trying to work out a great schedule. That's really been the only challenge has been getting all the schedules aligned. I have a day job. Most people have day jobs, or they have rehearsals in the evenings, or they have, there's a lot going on in the world, and trying to get 3 or 4 people to consolidate a schedule at a certain time.
Well, adult stuff always ruins the fun for everybody.
It does.
Being a grown up, man, it really ruins our fun.
Yeah. But but hopefully for people like us who are kind of perpetually immature.
I've been going through my midlife crisis since my 20s. So I'm gonna live forever.
Nice. Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man, anytime. I had a blast, and you have a good night.
Thanks. You too, buddy.
Cheers, man.
Take care.